Welcome to the McLaren Strategic Solutions podcast, Voices for Change. I'm your host, Vishal Desai, and on this show, we spotlight leaders who aren't just thinking differently, but acting boldly to shape a better tomorrow. Today's conversation is about ESG, which stands for Environmental, Social, and Governance, and how purpose-led innovation is redefining the way organizations grow and create impact. Joining me are two exceptional change makers. We have Ram, a passionate sustainability advocate, a Guinness World Record holder, and the driving force behind two powerful citizen-led movements, Plog.Run and 7 Trees for Life. His work merges community action with climate consciousness in truly inspiring ways. And we'll learn a lot more about the work that you do, Ram, in this podcast. So welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Excellent. And alongside him is Dimple George, country head India at McLaren Strategic Solutions. Dimple is a strategic business leader with deep commitment to ESG, innovation, stakeholder value, and long-term impact. Our vision is helping shape how McLaren bring sustainability to the center of its growth and partnerships that it builds. Together, we'll explore how ESG and some of the initiatives there can no longer be a checkbox, but it needs to be a catalyst for meaningful transformation both within the organization and outside in the real world. Let's dive right in. Ram, I'll start with you perhaps.
Sure.
Let's begin with maybe a quick personal lens, right? How do you define ESG? What's ESG? What sparked your own journey into this space? Why ESG even? Right? So, whatever your experiences are, we'd love to learn.
For me, it's more personal experience. So, ESG is like environmental, social, governance. It's no more like just a buzzword, right? So, it's actually it has to be really practical from a corporate point of view or a personal point of view. Environmental is all about companies care for this planet, what they can do for this planet, how do they do waste management in their company, how do they get contribute back to the planet in terms of using zero carbon emission. Multiple aspects of this is on a larger level. Environmental is a lot of areas, but these are the areas that I would personally focus on because that's my area of focus. Coming to social, social is all about how do your employees come together, how do you manage your employees, how do you make sure that your vision of to the planet, to the company, how you get your employees to come together. Your governance is all about the leadership in the organization that largely look at how overall leadership to contribute back to the planet. As governance, there are a lot of other roles to play, but from the environmental point of view, I think it's very important to have the leadership to also look at the larger goal of the vision. This helps the organization to grow and also sees value in the organization. That's very important, I feel, because anything to do with nature or environment or to the planet, I think the value of the organization grows much beyond company P&L. So that's what I feel ESG is very important for any organization. Purely from my point of view.
Yeah, and it's a brilliant perspective, right? So what triggered your interest there? Why was it? Were you always where you cared about the environment and some of these issues that you're sort of addressing, or was there a point, an inflection point where?
It's really funny, So there was time that we were sitting and partying in one place. We created a lot of garbage. This is in one of the place in Bangalore called Nandi Hills, so where I live now. This is my home now. It was not the home earlier. We kind of partied, generally Nandi Hills means party. People go there to have a good time. So we partied. We created a lot of garbage from food packaging to the water bottles to the other bottles that you created a lot of garbage. So I gave it back to my watchman to just say, hey, figure out, just throw it. So I didn't expect him to just take it and throw it somewhere. So I just gave it to him and then we continued to sleep. So morning I went for a walk. This is exactly, I think, in 2016, November time. I went walking back to the breakfast close by. So then I saw a lot of garbage that we created was all lying on the road. I'm like, it looked very familiar, like it looked like we used it last evening. So I was really like ashamed and like, did this really happen? I called my watchman. I said, what did you did? I said, sir, kahan fekenge? So we just took it. You gave it to us. We just dropped it. Then I went back, picked up a bag, and I started picking all of this. The most funniest thing that happened is, because it was maybe about 300 meters from my house on the main road towards Nandi Hills, there were other two guys. This is my first experience of so-called plogging that we did. Some two passersby carrying some garbage bag, they stopped and gave it to me. They think I'm like a rat picker. I'm like, wow, really? Seriously. And I also just took it. Just that they were looking at me like suspiciously because I'm wearing a Nike shoes and I'm wearing all branded clothes and I'm picking garbage. Like, they must be thinking, oh, bechara. Then I came back, I segregated it, and generally it's been a habit, but just that night it didn't happen. Then I realized, walking back to the restaurant, I saw so much of garbage. My background is I come from building communities, events, and that space. I thought I should do something. Quickly, the plog is basically a meaning of Plog.Run is, it's a Swedish term called plocka and jog, which is pick up and jog. So it was done in Sweden, and then I thought maybe it sounds cool. I also realized people are like cool things. Then I say, come clean up, nobody comes. So when I said Plog.Run, it's an initiative, it's a cool thing to do. The first Plog.Run was called Nandi Plog.Run, which I was able to get about 50 people to come from the city. We organized the breakfast. I know it needs other benefits as well. So we did this at Discovery Village, which is owned by Prashant Prakashan, who's very generously helped us and said, hey, if you want to do this, and we'll offer breakfast. So I got 50 people. We cleaned the entire stretch. Surprisingly close to about more than 800 kgs of plastic that we got that day alone.
800
just
kgs?
One stretch, yeah, one stretch, and 50 people. We couldn't even run. I mean, forget about walking. We couldn't even walk that path. Every step we found a lot of plastic bottles, lot of the alcohol bottles, a lot of plastic food packets and stuff. So we started collecting. We started leaving bags every maybe 100 meters. We used to fill off bags quickly, and it was crazy. I mean, the amount of plastic that we collected that day. And then I spoke to local authorities, because we also realized that what will I do with collected plastic, because we have to somewhere send it out for recycle. Then we collected all this plastic, and we worked with an organization called Hasiru Dala, who's basically into waste management. We gave this plastic to recycle them, and they gave me a superb report, which is what made this entire scene look, because they made something called zero landfill. So they actually recycled everything, and it was like a great effect for me. From that's where my lifestyle actually changed. Today, my lifestyle also impacted a lot of local vendors there. I used to go to a place nearby to eat that tatte idli, and then today she gives me a steel plate, and she also started giving steel plate to all the customers. I bought few of them for her, and today she kind of serves. So that was a great change that I feel from a very local person who's not educated. She's just a local lady who survives by selling idlis, and she was very happy that I gave her that steel plate, because it was easy to give a paper plate and wash it off. Yeah, that's how the Plog.Run started.
Sorry, 800 kgs. I can't still get my head around the whole 800 kgs.
Yeah, there's still more. I'll tell you during the course. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe you should give me some time for the questions too. But I will get to that. It's brilliant, right? Like I didn't understand the meaning of plog, so I did have that question for you. I'm glad you explained that personally. Dimple, let me come to you, right? So you've been a social entrepreneur for a long time, ever since I've known you. What's your take on some of the stuff that Ram touched upon?
Very rightly said, right, Vishal? I started this way before, and I'm lucky to come from a background where this is a practice at home. But I'd realized very soon in college and school, that's not the peer group that I have with me, right? They come from different strata, different thinking. So to instill that thought with my friends was easier then living up to it and somebody following what you have to impart, right? So very soon got into, from college to, workplace, started translating that. We started doing little things. But kind of took momentum, especially with the corporate, right? With the CSR coming in as a large scale where people wanted to give back to the community in ways where they were restricted. Corporate doesn't give you all that time, but if you remember what we did, give time, and that started building over the years. And soon it started translating to an additional aspect of an ESG, right? Where I started working, because I came from the operations background, from HR to operations, felt this would be a good idea to implement in the ecosystem where we belong. For example, IT parks in Bangalore, right? They became a large, a source where we can start immediate and you can see the results. Of course, for long we sat with just CSR, but very lately, we got in touch with Ram almost 7 years back. Yeah. And it was in Manyata Tech Park, which I was leading there for another corporate, and realized the kind of work that he was doing. And I had that window period for a lot of people to give back. So that's when we got into Plog.Running. And we realized the turnaround was much larger than when I asked them for a CSR initiative at an organization. And we said, it's a good aspect to bring in, while Bangalore had turned from a garden city to a garbage city. That's the tagline that was starting to come about, and it was very unearthing to know that it had grown that way, because I'm born and brought up in Bangalore, and that was not what we wanted to be known as. So we started small initiatives like this with Ram, and Plog.Run was one of it. He said 800 kilos. I think we did that over a period of couple of initiatives, and over a period of a year we had touched a good amount where it actually gave back revenue to continue this project, right? That initiative. But we also thought of how can this translate to our workspace, and that's when the ESG came about, and it became a big buzzword. They started having green days, planting trees, converting cigarette butts into soft toys. So we started looking at organizations. We worked with an organization from Chennai, where the amount of trash of the cigarette butts, because that is absolutely not eco-friendly, it was collected in huge and were dumped in areas which actually started becoming toxic in the cities, right? And it was largely dumped in village areas, and it had become a little bit more of a pollution for the cities out there, the villages out there. So we started picking up this as small initiatives, and then it started growing into actual inside the corporate office. We started looking at how TOI, how AI started coming into the system, the infrastructure that we had. We were able to maintain the electricity, the ACs, the ducts. We started working on those levels.
Wow.
Right? And then we started making our employees responsible for what they give back, right? And we need to live here, so we need to start looking after it now for the generations to come. So it started trickling in from corporates to then it went into their homes, right? And started seeing a big impact. Yeah. So I think that's how ESG started picking up, and I started growing very intrigued with that, because you can be where you are and still give back.
Yeah.
So I think that's where.
And I think sometimes, I don't know, systemic change or what, but some of this starts from home, right? Like, so we come from an environment where traditionally we were at, maybe years back, we were very environmentally sustainable. In fact, if you go to temples, or if you go to religious places, the prasad that was given in drones, as opposed to plastic. And suddenly, because it's just too hard to manufacture them, or plastic is a lot easier to mass manufacture, there was this plastic revolution. The amount of waste that even coffee cups cause in offices, I can't even get my head around how much that must be. I remember, I believe it was, in one of the companies that I'd worked with, where there was a replacement of coffee cups with mugs. Yes. And that was a real welcome change.
It's very simple, Vishal. So what I realized is, when we were children, so we used to go to picnic, right? We never used to carry plastic plates. We used to carry steel plates, steel spoons, a box full of whatever, rice and, snacks. And we used to take it back and we used to bring it back. Today, they only take it from home. They don't bring anything back. Basically, they dump everything. This is typically the most of the tourist place around the country, around the world has been happening because when you can carry it, why don't you carry it back? As simple as that, right? We also call it as my waste, my responsibility. So it's so important to clean up. You take it home, bring it back. Because at home you have a system. At tourist destination there is no system. Sometimes it's also the government can implement few waste generation points where people dump it and then pick it up. But not everywhere you need a dustbin, right? I've seen somebody, one of the tourist destination, say like, there's no dustbin. I said, dustbin cannot be there everywhere where you want to create waste. You have to walk a little, you'll find a dustbin. So that's, and government cannot put dustbins in every step, right? So there are designated area that you have to walk till there and put it. But when you eat, you don't want to have a dustbin next to you. But at the same time, you have a dustbin that you can go dump it back. So a lot of people have, in the COVID, in Nandi Hills had close to 3 tons of plastic we removed, and it was all stuck in the trees, in the bushes, the typical paper plates and cups. And I don't know if paper cups are pure plastic. It's not even paper. Yeah. So there is a thin layer that paper cannot hold.
Because otherwise
liquid,
the liquid will sort of trickle through. Yeah. You're absolutely right. And I think that's the thing, right? Like you talked about my waste, my responsibility. I think we come from a area where my waste somebody else's responsibility. So we call the garbage collector kachra wala as opposed to safai wala. It's just I guess it's just the mindset, right? And some of that, but large part of it is educational, is what I'm reading out of it, right? Like it's creating that level of awareness. But how do you create that awareness at such a large scale? India is a country of over 1.4 now, trending towards 1.5 maybe billion people. How do you create it at that scale? This plastic is cheaper, it's easier to access, it's easier to crumple and throw, and that's the nature of it. How do you create it at that scale?
People like cool things, as I said, right? So anything cool, people want to adopt it, they want to try it. So when we did Plog.Run, most of them were very curious to know what is Plog.Run is all about, right? Said, yeah, you come over and join the initiative, then we'll let you know. Then we created a website. I see a lot of people very conscious about it. They actually want to do it, but they don't know the platform to do it. Today everything is up on social media, right? So earlier when we used to go tell people, hey, I did this. Today for me it is easy to communicate through multiple social media channels that I said, hey, I did this, and I quickly get 100 views or 200 views. So we created this channel called Plog.Run, and we created a larger event called Bengaluru Plog.Run in 2018. It was like a score, right? So we were all sitting and watching what is going to happen, how many people are going to register. Just 24 hours before, we had say about 8,000 registration. In that 24 hours, we made a lot of videos from the celebrities, the CEOs, and so on. We pushed it all over the social media. The last 24 hours gained us from 8,000 to 32,000. And we had to really stop the registration. We didn't know how to manage 32,000 people in Bangalore running together. So we split from 30 locations to 60 locations. So we did something called the Bengaluru Plog.Run, which actually became the world's largest Plog.Run as well, and also got us the Guinness World Record for highest number of plastic bottle collected in 12 hours, and also send it for recycle, which we worked with the government, BBMP in Karnataka, in Bangalore, and we also worked with Hasirudala to collect all of this, send it for recycle. It's a proud moment to say that we send it for recycle. It's a very sad moment to say we collected so much. So it's like there's a win and there is a lose.
But I think the win is in the fact that so many people were interested in it. I think it was a win that 32,000 people showed up.
Yeah,
that's a win. It shows that people do care. They want a channel to be able to express. Right. And if you think of 6 degrees of separation, the number of people that each individual may be connected to,
right.
Imagine 10.
Right.
32,000 into 10 is 3,20,000 people. probably got awareness out of it at a minimum, right?
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's the win. That's the win. Because change got to start from somewhere. So it was a win. In many ways, it was a win. And the fact that people throw garbage is not new, right? Like it's always been happening. The question is what changes. We talked about the topic of governance as well, because I think companies and companies whose primary activity is economic in nature, right? It's economic in nature, have a large part to play, partly because they employ people, and when you employ people, you have certain amount of perhaps influence over how you how they make decisions.
Absolutely.
Right? And I've seen it in my own journey. My corporate experience has played a large part into what I am today. So how does it enter boardrooms? How does it enter governance? How does it translate from being rhetoric to something real?
So it was very difficult to move from a CSR initiative into the boardroom, but it was a conscious effort that was made worldwide, where they said it is going to be audited. So we went ahead being a part of it, and all the corporates right now, all the MNCs need to have an audit for ESG. So your carbon footprint, your emissions, you know, the usage that comes in as a company and as an employee, and the surrounding, the environment that you are. So that has become a great initiative in corporates now.
And who audits it?
It is
It's
a part of
internal
your,
audit.
it's an internal audit, but we are linked to, you know, a governance that is there across, right? So in ESG account, so where you are audited as a corporate.
I see. Do you also see now that you visit tech parks? You mentioned tech parks a little while back. Are tech parks actively involved in some way or the other? Are you seeing a lot of green energy and green tech parks coming in with?
It wasn't that prevalent before the COVID, but I think after COVID, a lot of things have started emerging now. And new tech parks, right? They are making sure they are one of the USPs of selling itself is to say that we are ESG friendly.
I see.
So all the new ones that are coming in, from the infrastructure to the way they're setting up waste management, all those aspects are taken absolute details.
Yeah, because if you think about it now with the world of AI and the amount of power that it takes, right? Like just, I mean, power as in current that will take to run these large servers.
For a corporate, you know, eventually this translates to money. Right? So if we can help in any ways to bring that percentage down,
so it becomes there's an
an
economic incentive too.
Exactly.
There's an economic incentive to other than the environmental incentive.
That's true.
Can you tell us a little bit about what McLaren is doing?
McLaren is actually working a lot on, you know, making sure that we have carbon footprint into control. Also largely because we work remotely, right? There is very few offices that we have, right? We are just placed in 2 different offices, but we network in many other cities. So there is a lot of, you know, curbing into that space. We are not looking at ESG only as, you know, the infra or, you know, power saving mode or, you know, getting into an environment, but there's also aspects of how we want to look at it for the large space that we want to look at futuristically, where we are now engaging with the governments of, you know, different cities. We're making sure that we are specifying the infrastructure that we want because we want to be eco-friendly, right? So, but largely, Vishal, the government is very careful about, you know, these things, right? So they are already into it. They are already encouraging a lot of corporates to shift to this kind of a, like you said, you know, moving from, you know, actual glasses to mugs, like, you know, reducing the number of prints that we get out, you know, the amount of usage that we are doing with the, you know, the TOI becomes a big aspect, right, where the lights, the way, how much of consumption that we have, all those are under control now. We're very careful as to how we want to.
But it's excellent. It's excellent to see, I think, internal drive supported by policy and supported by economic reasons, because I think for any meaningful change to happen, it can't be just one driver. I can't have saying, oh, I want to keep India clean and it's just going to magically happen, right? Like it's a combination of number of things that have to come together. Do you all see it's actually in action, or, you know, do you see that in action right now? It feels like it's coming in place, but do you see actual change? Ram, that you've been involved with this, do you actually see change in people's mindsets?
There is a lot of change. So when I say 30,000 people from 8,000 to 30,000, it is a change, right? So they like to do this. today when they go back to, go back home after doing a Plog.Run, they feel that they did something. It's actually also, it's a great ego that if somebody is picking up somebody else's garbage, you need to come out of your ego, right? It's not easy to do, why should I pick up someone else's garbage? If somebody else has thrown it on the street, so that's where it shows the personality of a person. And if he's ready to do that, I'm sure he can be a great leader in future.
Yeah.
And what I actually request even McLaren to do is, as part of their welcome kit, you should have how environment friendly you are. You should have a small write up about it and say how McLaren looks at it and how we want you to be part of this entire ecosystem. I think it will be a great move to apart from saying welcome with a coffee mug and a T-shirt. I think you should add a small note about how eco-friendly are you and how McLaren's want you to be
Because
contribute
companies
back
do
to the
have a
planet.
certain amount of influence over driving behavioral change.
And if you do that from from school, colleges to a welcome board, a person who joining a company also becomes very conscious and also feels proud to be part of something like this, right? So
Let me ask you, right? Like I think, but also India's a very young population as well. Very very young. I don't know this latest statistic, but it's there's still the idea of this demographic dividend. Median age is 29, 30. Those kinds of statistics getting thrown around, right? What can young people do to get involved? Because they are a driver. I would think that they have access to more information than we did, not just within India and their communities, but global information, which probably 2 generations before didn't have, even like 1 generation before didn't have. What can they do to get involved in some of these initiatives? Or do you see they're already involved? Is there more to be done there? What can they do? You mentioned colleges. What can be done there? What can be done at schools? Do you have a perspective around that?
yes, the generation now is called Gen Z, right? So I think it's they're all very social friendly, so they are very active in social media. I think driving few of them to say that I'm a plastic footprint free person is something that I'm trying to work on, to drive that message, to feel proud about I'm a plastic footprint free person. I don't use single use plastic. See, plastic is a beautiful material. You can reuse and use it for n number of times. You can melt it and use it back. You can create new products out of it, except the single use plastic that is basically what people throw. I think it's about how you put all this together, right? So I think if the new generation starts following something called a plastic footprint free, I think it will be a great message that they drive. And because it's also the peer-to-peer connection in the corporate, in personal, in friendship. So it's all about whenever you go back home, you're always termed as like, how's your friends? You behave accordingly, right? So it's all about peer-to-peer connection that you build, whether it is business or it is to do with environment or to do anything. I think it's being the right place and the right people. I think they will do value to the environment. And today, with all the climate change and the weather drastically changing every day, I think you're already seeing the worst thing that is happening. I think it's time for all of us to do something back to the planet and see I call it do your bit. Do whatever you can do. Don't worry about the entire world. My first campaign was called Plog in your neighborhood. Forget about the planet, forget about everything. If everyone starts cleaning their neighborhood, the whole country gets cleaned, the whole planet
For
gets
sure.
cleaned.
In fact, if everybody cleans their own house, possibly, and doesn't throw the garbage in the neighbor's house, I think it's still a good thing. So I like the idea of social currency, right? Like if we can translate some of the good work into social currency, that people can use as a badge of honor of sorts. I think that drives even more.
Exactly.
I guess a level of. I think in the tech world we call it gamification in some sense, right? And it has values. Cool. I think there's lots to talk about, but I don't think we have a lot of time. So I've been getting signals that we should stop. So I'm going to. I just have so many more questions on this. So we'll connect later. Dimple, any parting thoughts before we close today's podcast?
I just wanted to let us know that McLaren is very happy to be partnering and would want to look at it in the long term.
Thank you.
And making sure that we become responsible.
Yeah, thank you from me and from the planet.
Excellent. With that, we close today's podcast. Thank you very much for being such wonderful guests and making my job easier. It was an amazing conversation. I'm glad to hear the social impact combined with policy, combined with awareness, combined with social currency. Just so many topics we covered within this short period of time. Thank you for helping me understand this better, and hopefully some of our viewers understand this better.
Yeah, I urge and request all of you to go to Plog.Run and take your pledge to be a plastic footprint free person. And as part of that, we'll send you guidelines. How do you become a plastic footprint free person? It's important to guide you through this entire process for both for corporates as well as individual. And yeah, I mean that's something that you can bring a change by listening to this podcast today and do something about it.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vishal. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.